Real quick before we get started, we have something really cool we want to tell you about.
Voidmonster.org is a new site started by MTG artist Forrest Emil that releases new exclusive TCG-inspired accessories and apparel every single month.
The latest drop is bringing back all remaining stock from this year's past items, and you get free shipping on US orders of over $100 through November 30th. You get these boxes, they're card boxes, but they look like cool as hell. You can use them as card boxes. I just think that's cool.
They're selling out fast, so use our link in the description below to check out voidmonster.org before it's too late and they're all sold out.
Now let's talk about those big blue aliens. Avatar.
Oh, yeah, I get it, yeah.
Back to the video. I keep on tangling myself up like some sort of freak.
Do you have anything else to say before we start?
Can you turn around and see the dogs in the same bed?
That's so freaking
They've
cute.
been cute like that recently.
Yeah.
I think it's for warmth. They huddle together.
We should do that.
This podcast is brought to you in part by Dragon Shield. Use code PLAYTOWIN5 at the affiliate link down below for 5% off to help support the show.
Welcome to the Play to Win podcast, where we talk about winning in cEDH. I'm Cam.
And I'm Dylan. This week we are talking about Avatar, The Last Airbender, the Magic the Gathering set.
I just realized I don't know the official name for this set.
It's got to be that. It's got to be what I said.
And the sets are just named after the IP now, right?
Right, yeah.
So you are right then. It's
Right,
just
that's what it is.
Avatar, The Last Airbender.
Real quick before we get into the cards that we're going to talk about for cEDH specifically, not Commander, just cEDH. What's your familiarity? That's not the word. What's the word? Familiarity with Avatar: The Last Airbender.
I'm extremely familiar with
You've watched
Avatar.
it through a couple times.
I've watched it through a couple times. I've watched all of The Legend of Korra twice.
So you like it?
I do really like it. Now, I'm not as familiar with the supplemental material, like a lot of the other comics that took
There's
place
extra stuff
in between those two, from like when they're a little bit older, like the events that come right after. Like, I know there's a whole story about Zuko trying to go and find his mother after he becomes the Fire Lord. There's a couple of other stories about like older avatars that we got in the set, like Avatar Roku.
Yeah.
And
Is it
Avatar
Wan Shi in
Kyoshi.
Avatar or no? I'm already showing that I
Wan
don't
Shi
know.
Tong?
Wan Shi Tong.
No, Wan
Not
Shi
an Avatar.
Tong is a character that's only from like 2 episodes in season 2.
And it's the most powerful card in the whole show, it seems like.
That's
from what I know.
makes it so interesting. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I shouldn't say this. I've watched through Avatar like twice. I don't recall it truly. Like, I don't know why. For some reason, the final few seasons, they're just not really in my memory. I don't know why. The show was great and all. It just never like stuck with me, but it's like enjoyable enough. I know some of the characters. I recognize some of the things.
Yeah. Courtney's not into like animated things at all.
Courtney, your wife.
Courtney, my wife.
Nice.
Oh, that's so cool to say. Yeah. Courtney, my wife, is not really like into animated things, but I did make her watch Avatar and she really did enjoy it.
Okay.
But the second that we got into like the spirit world side of Avatar, she was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
She could get past the bending. Once we encountered that spirit panda in like the first season, she was like, okay, I got to get used to some of this stuff.
Fair enough. Okay. So we're going to just go right into talking about all the cards that we think are going to be good in cEDH from the set. Yeah.
Yeah. Some of these cards are going to see way more play than others. Some of them we're just kind of speculating on, but these are all of the most powerful effects for cEDH from Avatar: The Last Airbender, the musical, the set review, the ride.
According to us specifically right now, before we see any of them in play. We could be wrong, but if it's not on the list, no, we personally don't think it's good.
Correct. Correct. Some of these we have seen in play.
Some of these we have seen a little bit in play.
Yeah. One I haven't seen in play yet, though, is Badgermole Cub.
Yeah, this card's going to be good. Starting off hot.
I think so, too. Yeah, so this is 1 and a green for a creature Badgermole. That's a given, I guess. When this creature enters, you earthbend 1, which means that you target a land and have it become a 0/0 creature with haste that's still a land. You get to put a +1/+1 counter on it, and then when it dies or is exiled, you return it to the battlefield tap. And then whenever you tap a creature for mana, you add an additional green.
Earthbend is like kind of cracked. It's like good, right?
Yeah, it has like just safety nets for everything. Like it gives the land haste so that if it's the land you played for turn, you don't accidentally give your new land summoning sickness.
Yeah, cool.
Which is something I thought it did for a second, but now you don't have to worry about that.
Yep.
I also like that when it dies or is exiled, which means that you can't just like Swords to Plowshare it either and go, oh, I got around your dies trigger. No.
If you were to take just a regular land and you make it into a earthbended creature with this card also makes it tap for an additional green mana. So right away, it's 2 mana to make a land, now tap for 2 mana.
So already this is like Priest of Titania or like a Bloom Tender.
Right,
in some
yeah.
decks.
It already makes the mana, but even the fact that like it makes the land into a creature. So now say it also has a +1/+1 counter. So I'm Sisay brained right now.
Yeah.
So like Agatha's Soul Cauldron now can do things with this where it can give the land that you have an ability of a creature from a graveyard or something like that.
That's kind of nutty too. Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of weird things that this is going to do. The fact that like with Urza Saga, when the final Urza Saga counter Voidmonster comes off and you go search your library, Urza's Saga now comes back into play if it was earthbended because it died, and Earthbend says if the land dies, it comes back into play.
That's so stupid. You could do the same thing with City of Traders then too.
Exactly the same thing. With City of Traders, you could, with fetch lands, you could put it on a fetch land, sacrifice the fetch land, go look for land, and then the fetch land comes back untapped, so you can sacrifice a fetch land again or something like that. That's very similar to just having a land be making 2 mana, but it gets an extra card into your graveyard or something like that. It's an extra landfall triggers or something. I feel like there's a lot of small things that just earthbending a creature for a low rate might be able to do, let alone we haven't even talked about, oh, your creature's tap for an extra green mana. That's like half a Kinnan.
That's the thing. That is basically half of what Kinnan does.
And Kinnan's already twice as good as it should be. So like this feels like already just like a regular powerful card.
And it has synergy with a lot of the things that are already like super powerful in the format right now. Like not just Kinnan, but also like Enduring Vitality, so that now all of your creatures tap for 3 mana. They tap for the mana of any color, another green mana, and then another mana of whatever mana you already made now.
From like the Kinnan or something like that too. Yeah, it just like allows all of your already things to go a little bit extra crazy.
It just like helps you push things a little bit extra more.
What decks do you think this card's gonna go into? Because it definitely doesn't go into like every green deck, I don't think, but I certainly think like Rog Thrash strategies are gonna look into it, because making your Gaia's Cradle tap for an additional mana is going to be nice. Having
I think so too.
Your Birds of Paradise, you know what I mean? Like you're already looking to play stuff like this, so I think it'll go there. Definitely goes in Kinnan, right?
Yeah, if you're on any of the like the untap kind of strategies too, like I feel like it's probably not too bad in Derevi too, if it's just another land. Even if it's your Ancient Tomb, make you 3 mana, and then if you untap it with Derevi, that's just another 3 mana then too.
Does it go in Sisay? I have thought about it. It's not a legend, but it also is just like a mana maker. I'm playing Enduring Vitality already. I'm playing Asika. I'm playing other legends that tap for mana that are now going to tap for an extra mana.
Like you said, Agatha Soul Cauldron already is really good with it too, because it makes the green also be blue or black mana if you need it to be.
Right. And like one of the best things that I like Kinnan for in Sisay is as I'm going through my regular line and I'm making an extra mana, by the time I get to Emil, by going like Bloom Tender into Derevi into whatever, into Emil or something, Kinnan has made just enough extra mana for me to activate Emil right away. And I think this will do a similar thing. Kinnan's obviously much better because it can help me make mana of multiple colors, where this only makes extra green mana. So it's a little bit less helpful in like the activating Sisay button, but it's also just like extra mana. So I don't know. I'm thinking about it in Sisay, but you're probably not going to play this in like Atali would be an example of a deck you wouldn't want this in, right?
No, I don't think I would want this in Atali, because it's just a little bit too slow, and a lot of times, like, I don't really care about having like the +1/+1 counter or like the creature count like we're talking about. Like, I'm still on Cradle in Atali, but a lot of Atali decks are off of Cradle because it is kind of slow in Atali.
Yeah, and it is like at its floor, it's like a very terrible wild growth kind of, right?
That's basically what this is.
It's a 2 mana wild growth.
Its worst case scenario is that your dual land is now going to be able to tap for another color of mana. But like if you're on like a Rocco deck that plays Mana Dorks, or I've been looking at a lot of Bant decks, like some of these other Derevi decks or like Yoshi decks are on a lot more Mana Dorks in general. So if you happen to be running the Llanowar Elves Mystical Elf, if you're like still on that package, I think this is like an auto include for you.
We didn't exactly mention this, but we did say how good it is with Gaia's Cradle, but it's also like 2 creatures for Gaia's Cradle. You make one of your lands into a creature. Now Gaia's Cradle makes more mana. Like there's a ton of overlapping synergies that I think this card is going to go in a lot of decks, not the turbo green decks, but any of the mid-range and above decks. It's going to make all those lists.
I would like to read something.
What is it?
I want to see what Mockingbird says. You can have Mockingbird enter the battlefield as any creature on the battlefield with mana value less than or equal to the amount of mana spent to cast it, except it's a bird. If you earthbend your Gaia's Cradle, you can clone your Gaia's Cradle creature, and then what happens?
Oh, you can make your Gaia's Cradle. It's a legendary permanent.
Fuck!
So sadness would happen.
Damn, so sadness would happen.
But you could make your Deserted Temple, or the thing that untaps the Gaia's Cradle, you could make that into a creature.
And then I can clone Deserted Temple
and then
that
you
way.
Could clone Deserted Temple, I guess.
That's a funny way to do that too.
Yeah. There's a lot of weird things that we're going to be able to find by turning our lands accidentally into creatures. That's going to be good.
We'll talk about other ways that it's going to be more broken as we keep talking about creatures. But I think we got to start to move on.
I think this one truly, I think this is like very close to a 5 out of 5 for a cEDH card. I think this is going to go in a lot of decks. I would probably, I guess since we talked about it doesn't go in Atali and it doesn't go in someone like maybe the other turbo green decks, I would say I would give this a 4.5, but I think this is going to be a great cEDH card.
I think 4.5 is very fair because it is going to be a lot of decks and it's only going to get more and more broken as we figure out what all earthbending will let us do.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure something about Talon Gates is going to be busted. I'm sure something about Emergence Zone, like making sure that you can get your Emergent Zone back after you crack it. Like,
That's kinda good.
This has got to be some kind of weird Lumra card too, where like you just can get your lands back after they die. I think any kind of like reoccurring value like that, like you do it on a fetch land, you get your fetch land back tapped. Like, yeah, it comes back tapped, which kind of stinks. But if you have Amulet of Vigor, you untap it again.
What if I wonder if you have like, so this is like a lot of ifs and ands. If you have infinite mana and you have a meal, you can have a land that like, there's some lands that like would sacrifice to deal damage or something, or when they enter deal damage? Because there's got to be a way that you flicker the Toph to recreate a land into a creature after it dies and comes back, right?
What you could keep doing if you have infinite mana is you could just blink that land and then blink Badgermole again. And then you can turn it back into a creature, which allows you to blink it again, which has it come back into a regular land. You blink Badgermole, which will let you earthbend again. That turns it into a creature, and then you can keep pinging the table off that way with a meal.
Boom, there you go. So yeah, I mean, that's a lot of cards, and then you have to play a land that pings people or whatever, but we're gonna find more combos like that, I think, that allow Badgermole to do some kind of busted things with that.
I mean, a land kind of doesn't feel like a spell slot, so this seems absolutely cracked and is just gonna get better and better and better as it sticks around longer. So that is Badgermole Cub, and we're gonna move on from there.
Next card
is Qatara Waterbending Master. That's one we talked about already on the channel a little bit. This is 1 in a blue for a legendary human warrior ally that's a 1/3, and whenever you cast a spell during an opponent's turn, you get an experience counter, and whenever Katara attacks, you can draw a card for each experience counter you have, and if you do, you discard a card.
Qatara, what do you think about Qatara? Honestly, Tyler likes this card a lot. I'm not super sold on it just yet.
He's still not here to defend it, which is a huge shame, but I'm not sold on it either because I really haven't seen play. This reminds me of like Mercurial Spell Dancer.
Yeah.
It's way different than Mercurial Spell Dancer.
But same vein, same style a little bit.
The 2-mana creatures that still draw you a card that like make you think that they're Polywog Prodigies or make you think that they're Fairy Masterminds or other cards we'll talk about today. They're not, because they make you attack. They don't get you the value whenever something happens so that you can be reactionary. They make you get all of the value when you go to your attack trigger, which means you're not always going to get in. And I don't think the way to get experience counters is going to be very efficient either. Like, you have to counter things pretty much. You have to interact with the table if it's your commander. If it's not your commander, maybe it is a little bit easier to do stuff. But like, again, if you're doing things at instant speed, you're normally trying to interact with people.
And I don't want to interact with people.
No, exactly. Otherwise, like, you're going to quarter calling. If you're quarter calling, you're winning the game, and then the experience counter thing isn't really going to matter.
What evasion does this card have?
None.
None evasion. Yeah, I'm going to give this card a 2, but we're also saying this before we record, and as of right now, there's a good chance that Tyler is still going to play this commander. So if he destroys us in the video, we will have more to talk about in the next podcast. But as of right now, without seeing this card actually in play yet, I'm going to give this card a 2.
I'm going to give it a 1.5 because what I'm going to do in the game if he plays it is just like heavily target him when I shouldn't.
Make sure that he cannot win.
Yeah. Oh, I was right the whole time. Yeah. I just think that there's a lot of things that outclass what Qatara does, and we're going to talk about some other stuff today that do that.
Let's do that. What's the next card we're talking about today?
Wan Shi Tong Librarian.
Immediately, yes. Another legendary blue creature that's going to draw you a lot of cards, but in a better way.
Yeah, it's X blue for a legendary bird spirit for a flash, flying, and vigilant 1/1.
3 keywords is kind of crazy. Vigilance often doesn't actually do anything, but when it's on top of other keywords, I think Vigilance is actually quite good.
Especially flying.
Like, that's not even why this card is good, though. Just it has those things on top of why it's good.
Yeah, so when Wan Shi Tong enters, you put X +1/+1 counters on him and then draw half of X cards rounded down. That's why the rounded down thing makes sense.
Right, so if you pay for 4 total mana, X is 2, half of 2 is 1, you draw 1 card.
And then whenever an opponent searches their library, you put a +1/+1 counter on Wan Shi Tong and you draw a card.
So this is like Archivist of Agma, which is kind of crazy.
But like way better, because a +1/+1 counter on a flying vigilant creature is way better than a life.
Yeah, especially because it like the +1/+1 counter gets you out of range of Orcus Bowmaster. I mean, the blue is a little bit harder to cast than the white and the colorless, but the fact that it has all the extra upside of also being able to be an X spell, and if you can make infinite mana, you can just cast this and draw your deck. That's also going to be an insane thing. And the fact that it is also on top of that an evasive creature that works well with Timna and Derevi and other things that you'll want to be able to get through with, and then it also is allowed to block you so that you can still block and not take more damage. Like, I feel like it just does a ton of things. Some of them are relevant in cEDH, and some of them are accidentally going to come up sometimes and be like kind of good, I feel.
This is a hilariously flavorful card because what this guy does is he watches over this library that's been sunken into the desert that like no one has access to anymore.
Oh, okay.
And he is a spirit. He's a bird. By the way, he's a bird too. So just like,
yeah,
in case you're able to tap him down, Valley Floodcaller can untap him and shit
sure,
too.
yeah.
But it's kind of perfect that like whenever someone else searches their library, they are trying to find more information. The librarian gets some value and like helps get you information. It's so flavorful. Everything on this card is so perfect. I love the art. Like all the arts on this card, it just looks so amazing. This is, I think, the best card in the set. I think this is a 5. This is going to replace so many of the already existing 2-mana creatures that draw you cards. Like, I think this is better than Fairy Mastermind. I think you play it alongside Fairy Mastermind, especially if you need like the mana outlet. Yeah. Sometimes you want Wan Shi in play, and like the same goes with Fairy Mastermind, but it's nice to already have like a way to use your infinite mana in play. So I think realistically, this probably just like replaces Polywog Prodigy.
I think so in a lot of decks. Yeah, I'm looking to play this card in Sisay because it is one, a legend, but also if I can make infinite mana at sorcery speed, and for some reason I can't win the game with searching my library, I can also find Little Teferi and find Wan Shi, bounce Wan Shi to my hand, and then for X's however much I want, draw my whole deck with Sisay, which is not something that I could do before. I mean, theoretically, I could have put Thrasios in my deck, but Thrasios doesn't make any real sense in the deck, whereas this is just like an extra draw engine, which I think I'm like much more excited about in the deck.
Me too. I think that's a great call. It's just like extra stuff that you can do. It's legendary, like you said. You can go search it up. It's going in every Tymna deck that's out there.
Every Tymna deck for sure.
Every Thrasios deck too.
It's great in Gaia's Cradles decks because it allows you to do something extra with the mana. If you don't want to activate Thrasios, you can put the mana into this.
And you never have to commit to it because it has flash. Right. So you can always do it right before you go to untap if it's advantageous for you.
The only thing that's holding this card back is blue and the mana cost. That is going to make it a little bit tricky. Sometimes you're not going to be able to cast this when you want to. Not a ton will that happen.
Not a ton. Because I feel like most of the time in my blue decks, especially if I'm like 3 color plus blue, I'm normally going for my first blue dual land and then my second blue dual land before I go for any kind of non-blue dual land normally.
That's true. I mean, from my experience, I'm normally thinking about Necropotence, so I'm normally finding Underground Sea than Badlands. So if I have Wan Shi in the deck, I might have to structure that a little bit differently.
I'm on like 3 color Tymna Brain, 3 color Thrasios Brain.
Whereas like normally you just want the blue sources are the most important,
But that makes sense. Like even we were talking about like your Terra deck where like
realistically, I'm not often fetching for like necessarily a second blue source. I'd have to think about that a little bit more. That's the only thing holding it back though. Other than that, I think this is a great card. Is there a deck that doesn't want it?
No.
Right?
A blue deck that doesn't want it?
What's a blue deck that wouldn't want this card that's actually good?
Maybe Rogsai.
Maybe Rogsai. Yeah, Rogsai wouldn't play this card.
Because they don't play this kind of effect. That's basically a Grixis deck anyway now.
They wouldn't.
That's basically a Rakdos deck nowadays anyway.
Right, yeah. I mean, I guess there is a world where like you can make a bunch of mana and you don't have Ad Nauseam, and this is like an X spell to like draw you a couple cards. But you're right. I think maybe Rogsai might not play this card. Does that mean it's a 4.9 or are we still locking in this
I'm still locking it in as a 5. It's good enough on its own that like Rogsai is just, if there's one outlier, I'm okay with there being one outlier to give something a 5.
I'm going to give it a 4.9, which I know is way too low probably because it probably should be 5. But the double blue is, until I play with this card a little bit, I'm going to think about that just a touch. And there's going to be 1 or 2 situations, I know it, where I'm not able to cast this card. So I'm going to give it a 4.9, but I still think it is going to be probably a cEDH staple for the next few years.
Double white has not deterred me from playing things like Ranger Captain of Eos and Grand Abolisher.
It has me a little bit.
And that's way harder. Well, yeah, because like that's because like you're playing Sisay and stuff like
I know.
That's
what I'm saying. If there are certain decks that don't want to play the double pips, like I think that could also maybe apply for this. I don't know.
Let's move on. Let's talk about Zhao, the Moonslayer.
Zhao, the Moonslayer.
Commander Zhao. I think it's Zhao.
Yeah.
Yeah. 1 in a red for a legendary human soldier 2/2 with menace that says non-basic lands enter tap, and for 7 mana you can put a conqueror counter on him, and as long as he's got a conqueror counter, non-basic lands are mountains.
So that's a very expensive Blood Moon.
That's an incredibly expensive Blood Moon.
Probably never happening.
It does come on a cheaper creature that has another stacks effect attached to it too.
Yeah, having non-basics come into play tapped on a 2-mana thing is already a good rate for stacks decks. If you want to be playing stacks, this is a comparable, if not slightly better rate than other cards that do similar things.
It's way easier to get out on turn 1 than something like Archon of Emeria too. So like it's really great as like something to do on the play to really slow your opponents down as well. Kind of reminds me of like a Root Maze or something like that.
If you're playing Winota, this has got to go in the deck. It's right away. It's like the best card for Winota. But besides that, I don't really know what stacks decks or what decks that are looking to use this type of effect are are out there. Like, does Magda, I mean, this isn't an artifact.
This is not a Magda
It's not
card.
a Magda
No,
card, right?
no.
Like, Magda's looking for silver bullet stacks pieces once in a while to buy them just enough time.
But ones that they can tutor for.
One they can tutor for
importantly,
specifically.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't really know what other deck wants this, but this is certainly a powerful card in that strategy. That strategy is just not very good right now.
Yeah, what if you are on a blood moon, this is certainly something else to consider.
Yeah, not for the blood moon effect, but the fact that, okay, if you have the extra mana, maybe.
Winota, probably.
Winota, yeah. I think this is like a 2.5.
I was going to say 2.5 as well. Yeah. It's not strong enough to be a 3.
No, yeah. Is it? It's non-basics your opponent's control or you two?
No, you too.
You too.
It's a 2. It's it might be a 1. It might be a 1 now that it stacks as you out. Like, ones that are good of this effect are Archon, where it only hits your opponents.
You got to be
like,
in very low colors for this to be in your favor.
So now it's like only a Winota card, but like also your fetch lands of Winota are now turned off.
Maybe
so
it's bad.
I'm going to give it a 2, 1.5.
I'm dropping rapidly in my mind right now. I'm trying to make sure that when I evaluate cards, I'm thinking about how bad could this card be? What's the worst that could happen with this card? Now, what's the best thing that could happen with this card? You could turn bullshit into really good stuff if you're lucky.
Yeah.
But what's often going to happen, and I imagine that the dream situation for this card is you Chromox land, get this into play on turn 1, and then you're feeling good. But then you're also behind along with everyone else for the whole game unless you follow it up with the basic. So you now also have to have fast mana on turn 1 in your stacks deck, but also have a basic lined up for turn 2.
You have to be basics in your, you have to have a lot of basics.
You have to kind of be like heavy basics for that.
And who's heavy basics?
Or you have to be okay with on your second turn, then you still don't increase your mana production. You're only going to have 2 mana again on turn 2.
So if you play land tax in your red deck, I think this is okay. But now we're venturing into bracket 4.
Yeah.
I'm going to give this card a 1.
This is a 1.
That's my final grade.
This is a 1. It affecting yourself, I didn't really think fully through how terrible that is.
Neither did I. I didn't really think about that either, but that is horrible. Yeah. Let's talk about a good card now. The Cabbage Merchant is 2 and a green for a legendary human citizen that's a 2/2 that says whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, you create a food token. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to you, sacrifice a food token. And you can tap 2 untapped foods you control to add 1 mana of any color.
Yeah, this card's going to be good. We've been talking about this one for a while. We, as in the cEDH community on the whole, I feel like has been looking at this card for a while now.
In general, I think this is extremely powerful. I don't like that whenever a creature deals combat damage to you, things stack. So like if one opponent hits you with 3 creatures, that's 3 foods you have to sacrifice.
How big is this guy though?
But he's a 2/2.
He's a 2/2. Okay.
So he gets around a lot of Bowmasters, but I'm still thinking of him as like a Lotho. I think a lot of times this is going to be like a Lotho. You're going to have a big enough board where you're not going to be so easily attacked except by flyers. So I think on the average, you're making more mana than you're losing out on foods.
It depends on the pod for sure. And I've seen some mixed feedback on this card. Some people say this card's better than Smothering Tithe, and you're making 6 foods a turn. It's consistently a ton of mana. There's certain pods where this isn't going to do anything. If you have like one of the decks is slowing the pods down or something, and there's already things that people are playing around, like I could see a world where this kind of just like makes 1 food a turn, and then you're making like 2 mana every 2 turns, and like that's a terrible rate. So I'm not sure if this card is like actually cracked in like one of the best cards in the set and a new staple of the format, or if it's just like if you have enough synergies, then it's going to be good, but it doesn't go in every green deck.
Because it's not really like a Lotho, right? Because like A, you can't trigger it yourself,
right?
And B, it's the second non-creature. It's not the second spell, so it's not like where Lotho you can go Lotho Mox Amber on someone else. They can go Lotho Mox Amber, and then your Lotho still triggers.
Right. They have to specifically cast 2 non-creatures for you to get 1 food that can tap for mana. I do think it's going to be good, but I don't know.
It's less good than I thought that it was when we talked about it originally.
Yeah, I think in my head, I think this and Wan Shi are going to be close for the best card in the set, and I think Wan Shi is going to end up being better.
I wouldn't be surprised if Badgermole sees more play than Cabbage Merchant. Right. I think I'm going to rate Cabbage Merchant lower than Badgermole Cub.
Which is kind of strange, because like I'm also remember thinking about it from a Sisay perspective, and in Sisay, I think Cabbage Merchant is actually cracked.
Oh, yeah.
It's a legend that can make mana. What else could I possibly want? There are certain decks where it's going to, we didn't even talk about the Badgermole in Time. Badgermole is great in Time because it's an extra
it gives you the counter,
whatever, Cabbage Merchant also I think will be good in Time. Like there are certain decks that will be good with Cabbage Merchant, but it's not going to go in every deck. Like Wan Shi will basically go in every deck except for maybe Rogsire or something.
This is going to be a very powerful mana advantage engine, so like there's a good chance that like Thrasios decks still want this.
Yeah.
But this is not an Atali card. It's not going to turbo you out a lot of mana. This is just something that needs to be in play for a long ass amount of time for it to be good.
There's a mid-range card.
Yeah, and like when you say that you get 6 tokens of food, that's Smothering Tithe. Smothering Tithe is way more guaranteed to get you that, even
it's
though
not
it's
Smothering Tithe, I don't think.
It's not Smothering Tithe, and it's not Lotho. Lotho either. So this is like your third version of those two cards, but also substantially worse. Whereas Smothering Tithe is a 5 and Lotho I think is also a 5 for their color combinations.
Yeah.
I would think that this card is probably between a 3.5 and a 4, like a 3.725.
Weirdly, I think it'll end up being closer to Tataru Taro in power level than it is Lotho and Smothering Tithe.
And Tataru Taro is going down in my ratings consistently.
I'm keeping up high hopes because I have had a lot of people tell me like, no, Cabbage Merchant is cracked, in fact. So I'm going to give it a 4. I do think it's going to be a good card. I'm not saying it's not, but I don't know that it's going to be staple. Every single deck plays it, that style of staple. It's just going to be like a good green option. And in like weird other tokens matters decks, it's going to be good. You know what I mean? If you have any overlapping synergies, it's what's going to make this card even better, I think.
So the number on the screen is what we rated it.
We'll do the math later.
Whatever that math too. All right, so now our next card is Fire Lord Azula. This is one of the commanders that we haven't had the chance to play quite yet, but we are going to play by the time this episode comes out.
Well said.
Thanks. Fire Lord Azula is 1 blue, black, red. That was gross. It's a 4/4 legendary human noble with Firebending 2, which means that when she attacks, you make red, and this mana lasts until the end of combat. And whenever you cast a spell while Fire Lord Azula is attacking, you copy that spell and choose new targets for the copy. It's just a spell that you get to copy.
Any old spell.
An artifact, a creature.
Exactly, yeah. This card, I feel like is going to be the next Grixis core flavor of the month. I find it kind of comparable to Green Goblin and Kefka and any of these other Grixis decks that are like almost as consistent as Rogsai. What this one does in particular that I think it does really well is works with Born Upon the Wind effects, because any of the Born Upon the Wind, Valley of Floodcaller, Leyline of Anticipation, is that the name of it?
Yeah, and High Fate Trickster.
And High Fate Trickster as well.
And the land,
and
too.
Emergent Stone too, because if you can pop those things in your combat, now all of your spells that you cast, they get doubled, which means that your Mana Rocks, your Soul Ring gets doubled, your Talisman gets doubled, your Jeska's Will gets doubled, yada, yada, yada. There's so many things. So anything that you're looking to play in like Kark and Sakashima, the Grixis versions of that are going to be really good.
And it's a guaranteed copy.
And it's a guaranteed copy, which is like kind of insane if you have anything. Now, you have to have the commander in play for a turn cycle. Then you have to attack. Then you have to have an instant speed enabler. Then you have to have gas. That's a lot of ifs and thans, right? Like some commanders that are Grixis don't need all that shit. But there are other ways that you can curve it to like you can just be doing kind of okay stuff in the meantime, I think. Like I'm including stuff like, I don't know if Tormenting Voice is the name of the card. There's 2 instants that do that. A red mana and a generic. You can either discard a card or have the option of discarding a card or sacrificing an artifact.
Demand Answers is one of these.
Demand Answers is the new one that I think is the best one. Yeah. But you do that as part of the cost and then you draw 2 cards. But if you have to copy that, then you just do the cost 1 time and then you draw 4 cards basically. So I think there are cards like that you can include, like Frantic Search as well. That's just going to be good in a deck like this that allow you to just like kind of gain value and gain attrition, or have the option to, okay, I can cast Ad Nauseam now and I only spent 3 mana really because my commander made 2 mana and now it's copied. So if they have a counter spell, they have to have 2 counter spells or something like that. Like it can also do stuff like that.
That's true. Like it basically guarantees that your spells are resolving. Because your opponents aren't going to be able to copy stuff. So it's kind of like having a Wandering Archaic in play for your own spells.
Right. And we know how good copying spells is. We've seen Kark and Sakashima. The only issue is like this one has to go through a couple of loops. And rather than just cast its commander and flip a coin, instead this one has to cast its commander, attack, and then have something to copy, which I guess Kark needs something to copy.
But it does like make all of the instant speed stuff easier to cast though too. Like your Born Upon the Wind's 1 mana now, your Valley Floodcaller is 1 mana now because Azula helps ramp you in the combat step then too. So like the Firebending is very strong at helping you, make sure that this strategy goes. And even if you are just Demand Serene, then that way at least like it's kind of free to do so.
Right. We mentioned like it copies spells, it copies creatures also. That means it copies Spellseeker. So now Spellseeker can go find you Demonic Tutor and Tainted Pack, and the tutor can go find Thoracle, and that's a win right there if you have enough mana. Like there's 100 other things you could do with Spellseeker, obviously. Go find Demonic Tutor and Grim Tutor, and then go Demonic Tutor for the end of the road. But because of Demonic Tutor and Tainted Pack or whatever, there's so many different ways you can go to force a wind. There's other creatures that you can copy that will be less value, but like could still be valuable. Like even the simple thing of casting Dragon's Rage Channeler if you have instant speed, and now you can Diabolic Intent the DRC and also Culling the Weak the other DRC and copy both of those things and now get 8 mana and 2 tutors or shit like that. Like little things of like making extra bodies is like gonna just be good a lot of the time.
It's just gonna make it so that as long as you have flash speed, it's gonna make it so that you can win off of significantly less things than you needed before.
That's also nice that it just like doubles very nicely with Necropotence and Necrodominance. I already in Grixis want to be going Necropotence all the way, and now I'm playing just extra flash enablers, so my Necropotence wins are just going to be a little bit more consistent, maybe where I can find the flash enablers a lot easier. So I think it offers a good thing to Grixis colors. those. I don't know if it's going to be better than Kefka or Green Goblin. The fact that recently I've actually been using Green Goblin in Norman mode first, and it's actually been like okay if I can dodge an Orcish Bowmaster.
There's no Norman mode in this card.
There's no Norman mode in this one. You have to spend 4 mana. And at that point, like, is Kefka maybe just better because Kefka gets you the effect right away? Like, this has to wait a whole turn cycle. And I'm playing like the one, there's like a red mana instant that gives haste and allows you to draw a card or something like that. I'm playing one of those.
Crimson Wisp.
Crimson Wisps, yeah. I don't know if that's actually good enough. And
turns Crimson Wisp into a Rite of Flame.
Right, yeah, kind of, right? So, I don't know. There's some things that can be done, but I don't know if this is the next Grixis deck. I think this is just a flavor of the month. It's going to be interesting. I'm enjoying brewing it a little bit, and it'll be fun to play, but I don't know that this is like the next big thing. I do think it's close enough, though. Grixis Shell is good. Grixis Core is good. I'm going to give this like a 3.8.
3.8?
3.8.
I'm going to go with a 3.5.
Okay.
You can say a lot of that stuff about so many other Grixis commanders like Zevlor and shit like that. So
100%. And I favor Grixis. I think the core is good. And but yes, you're right.
That's like a 3.65.
Something like that. That sounds right. Just copying shit's awesome. Copying stuff. Good.
The next card is Monk Gyatso. This is 3 and a white for a legendary creature human monk who's a 3/3, and whenever a creature you control becomes the target of a spell or ability, you can airbend that creature, which means that you exile it, and while it's exiled, its owner may cast it for 2 mana rather than its mana cost.
This one, if you squint, it almost looks like Nadu. Obviously, that don't take that out of context is nowhere near as good as Nadu, but if you have something that says your spells cost 2 less to cast, then all of your creatures are now free to recast after they've been airbended.
Yeah, so like, what's that one that has imprint? Semblance Anvil, I bet that's the card.
And then if you also were to have Lightning Greaves, something that could target something over and over again, because it says spell or ability, targeted by spell.
Or ability,
right, so if you target a creature with Lightning Greaves, and then it gets exiled, but then it costs 2 less, so you can cast it right away for free. So then as long as that creature has any benefit, you do that benefit over and over and over again. Going through the dungeon or whatever else.
ETB draw a card.
ETB draw a card, you can go through. So it's your commander, it's a Semblance Anvil, Lightning Greaves, and it's a creature that does something. That's a lot of pieces. That's like
it's
3.5
a lot of
cards.
things, yeah. But there's a lot of things that like, there's some things that are kind of like Semblance Anvil.
There's a lot of redundancy.
Yeah, like if you play Urza's Incubator, then you can just make sure that you say like human or whatever. Like it happens to be the thing in your hand that works well with it.
Exactly. Yeah. There's a lot of like 1 mana reduction that you could run a couple of them and hope to find 2 of those effects or something.
That's also true too. Yeah.
There's a lot of different ways you can go.
I get like a little bit of value until you're ready to like fully go off.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know what this looks like for cEDH. I don't know if that's actually anything, but I think that's kind of interesting enough for like, if you squint, you see something that like, that seems like that could be kind of powerful.
Like Teshar.
Yeah, this could be Teshar.
I think of it like too, where like you need to play a lot of very specific cards, and you need to have a lot of very specific cards if you're going to put the win together. Right. But then you do something a little complicated, and then all of a sudden you win the game, and your opponents go, "What the hell?"
Right, exactly. So I could see this doing something. I'm going to give this card like a 2, realistically, just because I'm not really sure.
Is Gyat anything with the kids?
I think yeah, that'll get some comments, right?
Yeah. Is that what you do? You sling it at someone? Sling your Gyat at someone?
Definitely.
I'm going to give Monk Gyatso 2, just because I think he's held back by being mono white. Gyat is 2. Gyat.
You got to.
You got to. Toph, the first metal bender. This is going to be a tough one to figure out. This is 1 a green and a red and a white for a 3/3 legendary human warrior ally that says non-token artifacts you control are lands in addition to their other types. And at the beginning of your end step, you earthbend 2.
So this one, the earthbending is probably actually not going to be super relevant.
Earthbend to what?
What this one does, dude, is specifically turns Candelabra of Thanos into a land. So now Candelabra of Thanos can untap itself. So if you have a Candelabra of Thanos and like a Guy's Cradle that makes 3 mana, or maybe like a City of Traders and a Soul Ring, 2 artifacts and lands that make a total of 4 mana there, or 1 artifact and or land that makes a total of 3 mana, you can basically make infinite mana.
Look at that. You got infinite mana that way.
What do you do then? I don't know. Do something fine, Walking Ballista, yada yada. There's a couple of lands that you can put mana into over and over again.
Yeah.
You could Sensei's Divining Top, because Sensei's Divining Top is kind of weird. You put it on top of the library as like after you were to draw the card, basically. So
the only cost to draw a card is to tap Sensei's Divining Top. Yes.
Yeah, it feels like for some reason the cost of top should be to put it on top of your library.
But then you would just draw top right away.
That's not how it works. So you can activate Sensei's Divining Top and then hold priority on your own activation, and then use the Tabernacle to untap the Sensei's Divining Top. So there's a trigger on the stack, and then you respond to it again, tap the Sensei's Divining Top, draw a card. And then you do this over and over again, and then you let it resolve, draw your deck, and then at the end of it, Sensei's Divining Top will try to put itself on top of your library 100 times or something, whatever. That's one option you could do. There's also like a bell or something that you can mill people out with.
They play that bell?
I don't know.
The artifact bell that's just like each player mills a card?
I think there's the better one, the Codex Shredder. Codex Shredder is also recursion.
That's way better. Play Codex Shredder.
And specifically, it being a 1-mana artifact is kind of nice because there's a bunch of stuff like Tezzeret that can find 1-mana artifacts. You want to find the Candle, you want to find the Sensei's Divining Top, finding the Codex Shredder could also be nice.
And then Bright Glass Gearhulk. That's just like a 1-card win con in the deck then too.
Yeah, that's the one that I feel like really makes the deck possible because it allows you to find 2s. You can
find Mana Vault and you find the Candelabra right there.
Yeah. So I think Bright Glass Gearhulk is kind of what ties the deck together. I'm not sure if this deck is actually going to be enough because if you'll notice, there's a kind of a lot of things that you got to find, and green is really good at finding creatures, but a little bit less good at finding artifacts. So you have to stretch.
That's true.
You have
good
to stretch a little.
Lands. Like, so that'll be good to like turn your Gaia's Cradle into a creature.
Exactly. Yep.
And then that way with like Badgermole and like all these other cards we're talking about, that'll be super good.
But there's no card advantage in the command zone. All it does is it helps you make mana and then helps you make infinite mana, but no real card advantage, which is always like how good could this possibly be, really, when I look at a cEDH commander with no advantage staple to it. But you never know. There are commanders that are quite good that have no built-in card advantage in them, and they can still make it work.
If the interactions you provide are broken enough and you can do them quickly enough, I think that is enough to be good in cEDH.
Yes.
So I will be very surprised if this breaks out of the tier 2 echelon. I will be not surprised if it remains as a roughly consistent tier 2 contender that appears in not every cEDH tournament, but once in a while you'll see it in the cEDH tournament.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I also like that it's like a Naya deck that does something a little bit different than the other Naya decks.
Doesn't have to play Protean Hulk.
It's not a Food Chain deck. It's not a Protean Hulk deck. It's not doing creature stuff. It's doing stuff with broken artifacts. Like it's doing stuff with Candelabra. It's doing more closer to a Storm plan, I feel like, rather than like the typical like creature. I mean, there are obviously creatures for value in the deck, of course, but like it just feels like it's a little bit different than other Naya decks we've seen in the past. So I like that a lot.
I agree. Yeah. I think I'm going to give, is it better than Azula?
I don't think so.
You think Azula's is better colors?
Azula's better. Copying shit is just better. Like Azula doesn't need to win. Toph only helps you win.
Well, that's all Azula does.
Azula can like do like the tormenting thing. It
a
can
little bit of extra value.
It can give you value. It can like give you Jessica's Will and see if this is anything, and it's not. Or you can.
It is probably a little bit harder for Toph to give you value.
Yeah, you can Valley Floodcaller and then copy a Rhystic Study in your combat step.
That's pretty cool.
That's nice. You know, it can do stuff like that.
Well, you can draw cards with Toph too. You Earthbend one of the Horizon lands, and then that way you draw one card. It comes back into play.
I didn't think of that. Is that something? That's something.
It draws you one card. That's amazing.
You're right.
I think Toph gets a 3.
I think 3 sounds good. Yeah, I think 3 sounds good. I could see an argument for a little higher. I'm going to start with the 3.
All right, our next card is called Aang at the Crossroads. This is the only Aang that we're going to talk about.
Which is weird.
Which is very weird because there's a 4-color Aang. A 5-color Aang.
It's 5-color, yeah. And we're not talking about that one.
We're not talking about that one. Yeah, so this is 2 a green, a white, and a blue for a legendary human avatar ally. It has flying. It's a 3/3, and when Aang enters, you look at the top 5 cards of your library, and you may put a creature card with mana value 4 or less from among them onto the battlefield and put the rest on the bottom in any order. And then whenever another creature you control leaves the battlefield, Aang transforms at the beginning of your next upkeep.
Oh, I forgot it did that.
I know, yeah, and it kind of turns into something worse. Aang, Destined Savior. He's now a 4/4 flyer that says that land creatures you control have vigilance, and at the beginning of combat on your turn, you Earthbend 2.
That's so funny. It gets way worse.
It gets way worse, but like at least it still gives you value then, because like once you play Crossroads Aang, that's all. You got to look at the top 5, put Derevi into play, and then that Aang got all of his value.
It's an attack trigger too. Aang's thing is an attack trigger.
When he enters.
Oh, it's just enters.
It's just enters.
Oh, I'm wrong. Okay, so you're not missing out on too much. Okay, I guess that's not actually so bad.
No, yeah,
I was thinking you're like missing out on the attack trigger next time.
Oh, no.
Okay, so I guess that, I guess that you really, that's fine then.
With Food Chain and Infinite Mana or like Derevi and Emil, what you can end up doing is blinking and casting this Aang over and over again so that you can just like go until you put Walking Ballista into play for 0, then you Eternal Witness it back to your hand, and then with your infinite mana, you just win the game with that.
Right. There's probably other things that you could do, I imagine, too. That one feels like the most efficient, kind of, because
that
Walking
plays
Ballista...
the fewest dead cards.
Yeah, right. I agree. It kind of... This one's a little bit... Interesting. I feel like this is going to be in a similar boat as Toph, where like technically I think this can do like things that are close to cEDH stuff. I think we kind of talked about a little bit before how like the Derevi stuff is like that band shell is good. We've talked about that before. That like band, Guy's Cradle, Emil, Derevi, all this stuff is like kind of good stuff.
Yeah.
So if you have someone reasonable at the commander that gives you some advantage, that could win games of cEDH.
It just has to do, like, it wants to do those things that, like, Derevi and Yoshi Thras do, but, like, it also doesn't help facilitate any of those things. Where I think it's going to be really good is you're going to cast it, and then you're going to surprise Grand Abolisher into play from the top of your library.
Yeah.
And now it's uncounterable, and now you go, oh, well, I can't do anything this turn because I had to pay 5 mana for my commander.
Yeah.
But I can, like, go to, like, on my next turn when I go to win, if no one has anything.
Is long-term plans something? You like
Technically, long-term plans is something that you could do.
Like you end-step long-term plans on your turn, like Aang, and you get like the
and then you're guaranteed whatever creature you put in your long-term plans.
I don't think that's good, but that's fun.
But that is a funny thing that you could do.
That is a funny thing that you could do, yeah. Long-term plans is an instant, right? That's why that card's interesting.
Yeah, but like it works with Worldly Tutor too. Like for 6 mana on your main phase, you can set up whatever creature you want, which is kind of nice too.
It's nice that it finds Mist-Hallowed Griffin and Eternal Scourge because those are the food chain things that you need. It finds Derevi and Emil, which are the creatures that you need for that line that you would need Guy's Cradle for also, but you could also put like Spell Seeker to find Crop Rotation to find Guy's Cradle. So like there are ways that you can find the whole combo with just your guy.
You just lose out on like Oboro Breeze Caller when you do this too. So like a lot of the super strong things that have been good in this color combination, you don't really get to do. So it's kind of nice that it gets its own little access area. And if you flip it, maybe there's more earthbending things you could think of, but I did not focus on any earthbending of any kind.
I think earthbending is really great if it's like a little add-on to an already cheap and efficient thing, like the mole is, where like the mole already makes you mana in a tons of ways. And then also for some reason right away when you cast it, by the way, or when it enters, you get the earth thing. This one, it happens at like weird times, like where you don't get to fully control.
My land creatures get vigilance, but they're only going to be 2/2s. So what's the point of having vigilance if I don't really want to attack with them all the time? I don't know. I'm not super high on this Aang. I think I'm going to give him a 2, but I'm going to have a lot of fun playing this deck.
You're going to have a lot of fun casting Wargate for X3 to find food chain. That'll be good. I agree. Let's give it a 2.
Our next card is the Unagi of Kyoshi Island. This is a 5 mana flash 5/5, 3 and 2 blue for a legendary creature Serpent. It's also got Ward Waterbend 4. We got all the bendings.
We got all the bendings in, yeah.
While paying a waterbending cost, you can tap your artifacts and creatures to help. Each one pays for 1. So it's kind of like Convoke for an activated ability.
Of just regular mana, or they can use artifacts and creatures to help pay for part of or all of that mana.
Exactly, yeah. And then whenever an opponent draws their second card each turn, you draw 2 cards.
2 cards.
This is like good Fairy Mastermind.
Good Crom.
Yeah, because this keeps you up with the card advantage that the rest of the table is getting, whereas Fairy Mastermind always keeps you one behind all of the card advantage that your opponents are getting.
This, however, is 5 mana.
Which is way bigger of a bummer, yeah.
But it also has basically hexproof. Ward 4, even with the waterbending. I don't think anyone's going to pay for that. And no one's going to want to kill this thing anyway.
No.
Like,
how often do people pay for your Mystic Remora?
Right, yeah.
That is how often this will get removed.
Right, yeah, exactly. But I think in the right deck, this could be interesting. I have heard some Kinnan pilots talk about how this is like the type of big creature that they want in their deck. It's like another Consecrated Sphinx, kind of. Not obviously the same, but like in a similar ballpark as like this is another Superistic Study. If you're already doing the
semi-blue kind of thing.
The mirror pool type of as much draw engines as possible, I think Consecrated Sphinx and this are like, that's what Kinnan can do. It has the ability to make this type of mana pretty regularly.
But like this is also way easier to Eldritch Evolution into play too, off of like a bunch of your value creatures for 3 mana, like Eternal Witness that comes into play, has nothing else going on, or like Enduring Vitality, that's still going to be Enduring Vitality.
Anyway, yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, so this is a great hit for that.
I feel like this has got a lot of extra synergy and it was going to be way easier to get out in a lot of other decks.
Yeah.
So that then Consecrated Sphinx is able to do.
Yeah, I would argue that with those particular decks at 5 mana, often you're looking for Seedborn Muse, but I could definitely see a world where like for some reason you don't want Seedborn Muse. Like maybe it's already out and you want to do it again and this is the second life drop or whatever. But yeah, I totally agree that like this being 5 mana versus 6, I think is a big difference. It's going to make this a lot more castable on turn 2. This is going to be pretty easy to put together on turn 2. And
with just like Mana Vault.
With just Mana Vault and 2 lands, and then turn 2, all of a sudden you've got...
I don't have Adnos.
Exactly, yeah. You got your way out of a mulligan or whatever, and this is going to, over the course of like a couple turns, going to draw you like 10 cards or something crazy.
Yeah, really. Drawing 2 cards is wild.
It's going to stack up. We have seen a lot recently where like Delny making an Esper Sentinel trigger twice. All of a sudden when Esper Sentinel draws your opponent's 2 cards, it feels like way worse. It's like, oh fuck, I like this like is a world of difference.
And I like like that this isn't going to make you lose the game when you get over ambitious when someone like copies it.
Oh.
Because like the way that
It's a May?
Consecrated Sphinx works.
Oh, it doesn't trigger itself, this one.
Well, it won't keep triggering,
Yeah.
right? Like, because it only triggers off the second card that someone draws. So like if someone has a Heuristic Study, they draw their second card and 2 other opponents have it, then they'll go. You don't have like the option to let 2 players draw their entire decks and then have 1 player still like clearly be able to win easier off of that then.
Okay.
So
I think this card is great. I think I'm gonna. I don't know. Like great. It's so hard. I think this card is gonna go in Kinnan and some big mana decks. It's not like a blue farm card. It's certainly not going in Rogsai, but in the right deck. So I'm gonna give this like a 3. I think this one's like a 3.
I think it's also a 3 too. It does seem extremely powerful for very specific big mana decks like the semi-blue kind of strategies and
the Rog Thrash semi-blue is definitely gonna play this.
So those are all the creatures that we have to talk about today. So we're gonna move on to sorceries next.
Let's do it. Yeah. How many sorceries do we have?
2 sorceries.
2 sorceries. I love it.
Boomerang Basics is the first one. This is blue mana for a sorcery lesson that says return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand, and if you controlled that permanent, you draw a card.
We get these spells every set. A bounce spell that's almost good enough, but not really, and you go maybe.
Although this one, I feel like we can talk about because it actually does feel like it's pushing the envelope a little bit more to what we want.
I think Into the Floodmaw was the first envelope open. We unlocked the envelope opening when we had Into the Floodmaw because I feel like that was the first new bounce spell that we got in a while that like that card is actually good.
That's
a
actually
5
good,
that goes in
yeah.
almost every cEDH deck. That card's incredible. This card is a sorcery, which sucks. And this card also kind of half exists in 2 other different cards already.
Like
now,
Void Snare
or something is a blue mana sorcery that just bounces a non-land permanent, but it doesn't give you the option of maybe drawing a card.
It's all playing Cody so that you could bounce Cody and also still get the Cody trigger.
Right. And then what's the other one? 2 mana for it?
Alchemist Retrieval.
Alchemist Retrieval. This sort of
that
does something
hasn't
like
seen
that.
play
but
in
that
a
hasn't done something to play.
long time,
But that's like
yeah.
also 1 mana bounce your own thing, 2 mana bounce their thing or something like
That's
that.
exactly what it is, but still an instant.
So this one is kind of better than that because it's always 1 mana, but not an instant.
Also kind of worse than that.
Right. So
Yeah.
like the big issue like is this competes with Chain of Vapor, Into the Floodmaw, Snap, and Cyclonic Rift. Those are I think the 4 top ones, right?
Honestly,
would you
it
agree?
also competes with Otawara though too.
You're kind of right. It kind of competes with Ottawa as well. And like, at what point are you playing all 5 of those and you also want this? Now, like, I could see a world where Snap or Cyclonic Rift, you might not necessarily want those cards in certain decks. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And maybe those situations you want this card instead. I don't know what those situations are because
I don't know either because a lot of times like you move out of bounce spells at that point. Like it's better to play Swords to Plowshares if you're in those colors at that
Abrupt
point,
Decay or something,
or Red Elemental Blast, right? Like there's other things that you want to start to put in instead of putting in something like this. I don't think this card is going to still end up seeing the cut. It's just a little bit closer of something that we're looking for. So like it's a strict upgrade for 1 card in Cody.
If you're still playing Cody, this goes in your deck. This is
will
awesome.
go in the deck. It will be so sweet.
So good.
That extra card that you'll get is going to be awesome. But like there's like Alchemist Retriever has fallen out of favor. And like the non-flexibility of when you get to cast the spell, I think is what doesn't make this have the cut. Because all the other things that we talked about are instant speed. And if it can only protect you, I don't think it's good enough. Like what makes the other bounce spells...
I think it actually, this one doesn't protect you though. It only opens a path for you.
Oh, that's what I'm sorry. Yeah, that's what I meant. And when it only opens the door, it doesn't stop you from losing the game.
Yeah, exactly. I could see a world where Rog Thrash could want something like this because like bouncing your own Cloud of Fairies, you draw a card is going to be good, but like you always want Snap before this, so you're never searching for it ever. So you're only going to play it if for some reason you don't have enough going on and you can't find the Snap yet. Maybe that deck in particular really doesn't want to play Into the Floodmaw because they want all of their bounce spells to bounce their own things. So they play Snap and Chain of Vapor, and then maybe they want this as a third one.
I'm not sure what that deck is or what that looks like. Yeah. I'm going to give this card a 1.
A 1. Only a 1.
I'm giving Boomerang Basics a 1.
I think it's a little bit more. I'm going to give it a 2 because I think it goes in Cody, which is not a real deck, but Cody can still like win the game. So I think this card is a 2, and I think some decks will like it.
The next card is Storm of Memories. This is 2 and 3 red for a sorcery with Storm, and it says exile an instant or sorcery card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard at random, and you may cast it without paying its mana cost. If that spell would be put into a graveyard, exile it instead.
We can talk about it quickly. It's a Storm card.
Yeah.
Storm's crazy. That's, we don't get a lot of Storm cards that are new that are any good, right?
Yeah, this is kind of like a weird Past in Flames.
Yeah, or like Storm and Calamity or something. Do you know like the other, it's like a 5 mana spell that's like red, and 2.
Invoke Calamity.
Yeah. And you can cast 6 mana total worth of spells and you get to choose them, but only those spells. Whereas like this has a higher upside of like maybe the random might not matter. If your Storm is huge, you just copy everything in your graveyard.
See,
right?
I didn't know it was random until now, and now I'm lower on it.
Yeah.
I think that there's going to be a lot of times where you need to stack it specifically, and like if you end up tutoring for something and then you have to discard something just from like the way I think there's going to be times where this might end up messing you up, but I think that there's also going to be ways you can build your deck so that it doesn't mess you up. Like how often is the tutor going to get messed up by like the ritual that you have in the graveyard? Like just the order of things doesn't always matter. It's like just very niche when it might matter, and that might not be worth thinking about.
Mizzix Mastery is another card that's like similar to this, and Mizzix Mastery is I think a lot better. It's more expensive to overload it, but at 7 mana you just copy all of the things in your graveyard.
You're kind of doing the same thing where you need like a bunch of rituals to make Mizzix Mastery overload, and this is kind of the same thing. You need to build up your storm so that this can do something.
The floor of this card, this could be terrible. This could do nothing. This could not only backfire, but like do something terrible for you. So like I think by that new way of me trying to rate cards is like how bad could this card could be? This card could be very,
this
very
card
bad.
Could be very terrible.
Yeah, but it could be insane. It could win you the game. So I think I'm still going to give it like a 1.5. You know what I mean? I just wanted to talk about it because I think it's something interesting that storm-based decks like Ral and Kark could consider. I don't think they'll ultimately land on it, but 1.5 I'll give it.
Yeah, I think a 1.5 is fine too. Past in Flames and Will of the Jeskai are still better. So at this point then it's still like the third best version of this effect. I don't know, if you're really leaning into that, maybe that's something that you want. Like if you're not in black to play Yawgmoth's Will, I think this is a fine replacement for that if you're on all those other effects too.
But we're also in a format that Underworld Breach is allowed in, and I would like to cast things.
Oh god, this is just so much worse than Underworld Breach. Yeah, man, if I compare it to that, that makes me sad. All right, let's move on to the instance.
Instance.
This is Octopus Form is the first one. This is a blue mana for an instant lesson that says target creature you control gains +1/+1 and gains hexproof until end of turn, and you get to untap it.
Is this a VV card?
This is a strict upgrade to Shore Up because it has Qatara on it, and it's a lesson. And there's something about that, I guess. Yeah.
It'll go in VV probably.
It's a 3.
It's a 3. It'll go in Cowgirl. What's her name?
Oh my god, this is actively a Stella Lee card.
This is a great Stella Lee card, I think.
Wow.
Right? Does Stella Lee want this?
Yeah, Stella Lee does want it because it has the untap. You can make an infinitely big Stella Lee. That's something.
That's something. Yeah, it's a 3. I still lock it in as a 3. I don't give it much more than that. We don't have to say much more than that because this card already exists in other names. This is just another version of it.
We just now have a flavorful reskin for this card. Redirect Lightning is another card that we've talked about already. This is a red mana for another instant lesson that says as an additional cost to cast the spell, you can pay 5 life or pay 2 generic mana, and you can change the target of target spell or ability with a single target.
I think this is great in non-blue decks. I think this is going to be great in those.
If you're playing a non-blue deck that needs to protect whatever it's doing, this is your new Bolt Bend. This is your new Deflecting Swat.
Specifically like Toph, a deck that doesn't really use the life total that much. I think it's great in Toph.
Or even something like Obnixilis.
Even something Obnixilis,
Like if I'm super built around my commander, which I probably am because I'm in a non-blue cEDH deck.
Right.
I probably want to make sure that my commander's protected.
Right, yeah. I could definitely see Rakdos, Obnixilis. Even those decks are using the life total like a little bit. I still think the 5 life that you're probably going to end up paying for this is going to be worth it.
I think I'm going to try it in Atali. I think I'm cutting the 1 ring in Atali, and I'm going to replace it with Redirect Lightning to try that
more
out.
Protection.
Yeah, because like the life loss is going to be the same amount of things, and like this looks better in my opening hand as at least meaningful interaction. I mean, it doesn't stop Mindbreak Trap. That's the biggest bummer is that things that have multiple targets, this is not going to stop. So like my arch nemesis, this does not stop, unfortunately. Silence, my other arch nemesis, this does not stop, unfortunately. But anything that's going to try to target my food chain, like from the tournament, like if I need something to remove Vexing Bobble, it doesn't have to protect my things. If it needs to get rid of a stacks piece that's in play that's bugging me, and someone casts a removal spell on something that's not that stacks piece, I can just move it to that stacks piece, and now Drannith Magistrate's gone, and Redirect Lightning help me get there.
Yeah,
so
that's the best. I think for Atali, that's like the best way to use a card like this. Is like somebody else tries to bounce something that doesn't matter to you, and you say, no, we're going to bounce the thing that I care about actually instead.
Yeah, and like under a Vexing Bobble, if I need to get rid of it, this can still be 1 mana. Like it doesn't stop the alternate cost from happening. It can still just be 1 mana, and then I could potentially even still Atali that turn. I don't know what that scenario looks like, that someone's trying to remove something on my turn when I can't Atali.
Yeah, it would probably have to be on somebody else's turn, and you have to wait a little bit to survive.
But still, I think that's extremely plausible, and I kind of like this effect.
The reason I think also why we say if you're not playing blue is that most counterspells are going to be better than this. Most Swan Songs are going to do this, but more. They're going to do the same thing, but also stop you from dying in other ways, whereas this is kind of pigeonholed into one specific thing.
But Swan Song doesn't get rid of a Vexing Bobble that's already in play. So like there might be scenarios. Yeah, so like if you want another SWAT, I think this could be okay. But I don't know what deck is necessarily looking for another SWAT, because if you want another SWAT, like Misdirection also exists. And I think Misdirection in a blue deck deck.
Misdirection's seen a little bit more play recently.
Yeah, and that might be better than Redirect Lightning if you're in both colors. Now we're getting into like, well, how many other pitch cards are you playing? Like, are you on Snapback too? I don't know.
I have a question. Is it spell or ability? Can you remind me?
Oh, it's spell or ability.
Or ability. So if someone besages your food chain, you can go, and you can still redirect to besage you.
And you can't do that with misdirection? Is misdirection only
Misdirection spell only.
This is better than misdirection. I think Redirect Lightning is going to be a 4.
A 4. That's a little higher than I'll give it, but I'm going to, for me, my gut feels like a 3.8. I'm going to go with a 3.8. So I still think it's quite good. I think it adds to the repertoire of Red Elemental Blast, Pyroblast, Veil of Summer, better than Autumn's Veil, better than Orm's Chant, or like in that realm of like almost good enough, and for non-blue and decks will be quite good.
3.9 that Redirect Lightning will come out to get. Yeah, cool. Our next card is called the Last Agni Kai. This is 1 in a red for an instant that says that you can target creature you control to fight target creature an opponent controls.
Yeah.
If the creature an opponent controls is dealt excess damage this way, you add that much red, and until the end of your turn, you don't lose unspent red mana as steps and phases end.
I think this is an Atali card, right?
I don't.
You don't?
I don't think this is an Atali card.
So,
no.
so yeah, tell me why you don't think this is an Atali card.
It doesn't help me come from nothing.
Okay.
Like on turn 1, this does not help me progress in any way. This is only something that helps if I already have something else in play.
That's true.
Someone else already has to have something else in play.
Yeah.
And my thing has to be big enough that it gives me excess mana to feel like a ritual for it to be something that's going to help me get Atali out.
Okay.
I think it's way better for when Atali's already in play, but if Atali's already in play, most of the time I don't need it to remove another creature.
Interesting.
I guess it could help me remove like Opposition Agent, and then I get 5 mana, and that does feel really good. That situation just does not come up very much, where I want to remove Oppo after Atali's already in play.
The way that I was thinking of it is that you're going to already have Italian play, and then if for some reason you whiff, so you're already in a bad spot, but you just use it to kill whatever. It doesn't matter what you kill, you just look for a 1 toughness thing, and it's just 2 to make 6. I thought that was a reasonable rate, but you're right, it doesn't actually help you cast Atali, because not only must you cast Atali, not win the game, but you must have this, get rid of the thing, and then also a way to get rid of your Atali somehow. And if you're already doing that, most of the ways that you have to do that are already helping you recast Atali, sort of.
Like Manamorphosis is a 1 mana spell that not only sacrifices Atali, but also adds 8 mana for my next Atali.
So it makes it much easier to recast it, whereas this, you still need the Twin Flame to copy the Atali, to get rid of it, to maybe recast or something like that. So I could see that, but to me, it feels close enough to testing, because like it does do kind of what Atali wants.
It's a 2 mana ritual. Like it's right in that realm of things that like I kind of want. It's like Defense of the Heart.
It's like at the wrong time it makes the
It's
mana.
like at the wrong time it makes the mana. It's an instant. That's also cracked.
Good,
I kind of like that. I don't like that I need to have other things committed in order for it to be good. And I think a lot of times what the board state is actually going to be is my creatures have, like Treason Ogre has 2 toughness.
Yeah.
Blank Goblin has 2 toughness.
Yeah.
This is going to make me 1 red mana back if I can ping off a mana dork.
Yeah, without Atali in play, you have to rely on like Bergie getting rid of Birds of Paradise. It just like kind of is neutral almost. It doesn't even really do anything.
And I really only want to flip into Bergie. Like if Bergie's in my opening hand, it's a dead card, it feels like. Yeah. The philosophy around my Atali deck recently has been, if it doesn't help me get Atali on turn 1 or turn 2 and is not helping me bounce back, I'm not interested in it.
Right, because that's all you need. You're planning on winning, I feel like most of the time, with something that your opponents give you. They're going to reveal a Demonic Tutor. They're going to reveal an Imperial Seal or something.
Exactly.
You don't need extra win conditions. You just need ways that make mana from nothing.
Exactly, yeah. And this requires something to make some more mana.
Yeah.
So like this feels like a great Atali flip. Like which, you know what, actually might also be like something else that is worth considering too, because
it is a great Atali flip.
It can't fight something that I control though. So I think that might make this a little bit tough too, is like if I'm winning on turn 2 and no one has anything worthwhile in play, it turns into a dead flip.
I guess there are going to be some times where there's no creatures in play, but a lot of times there'll be a Rograk or a Birds of Paradise or an Esper Sentinel,
which would feel nuts,
right? Which will still feel like 6 mana.
Yeah. Maybe I should be considering this card a little bit harder, but because it's not as powerful in my opening hand, I think that's why I haven't been looking at it so much.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
I think there are other decks that would use a card like this. Obnixilis, we've already talked about a little bit. I don't know realistically, like, is that enough? Dargo, I feel like loves something like this.
Yeah,
maybe.
This kind of feels like a Jessica's Will. Instead of like finding you 3 random cards, you get the mana and you get to remove something. Like the card that you found was a removal spell, basically.
Yeah, kill the Orcish Bowmaster, make 6 mana or something like that. If your commander's a 7 power.
Yeah, I think I really like Dargo for something like this. It's a cheap commander that's also huge. That's still going to make this be an insane ritual all the time. Whereas like with Atali, I need that 7 mana before this turn turns into an insane ritual.
Yeah, that makes sense. I still think this is a good card. I'm probably gonna rate this one realistically like
it's probably a 3.
Yeah, it's at least a 3. It might be a little higher, 3.2. I'm gonna give it because I do think that this is going to be good in a couple decks, but I think Jessica's Will is a good comparison actually because it is gonna feel Jessica's Will-ish. Now, like it doesn't give you the cards, but you're right, it does kill the thing, which could be enough.
In a lot of scenarios, because your deck's built around it, you'll be able to gain mana advantage and get a removal spell off at the same time. Which, I think is gonna feel the same. You're gonna want your commander in play first because that's the big thing that you want to make sure that you have. Yeah. This could be a Rakdos card too.
This could be a Rakdos
because
card.
Rakdos doesn't care that it only makes red. Like you can have Rakdos fight something, sacrifice another creature to give your Rakdos indestructible too. So like that's also kind of funny. And then that way you can use the red mana to cast Demonic Tutor from exile as well because Rakdos lets you use the mana of any color on your spells too. So I could see like this being another one of those kind of like Rakdos cards.
I'm sure there's some other weird fringe commanders that we're not thinking about that could use something like this. It's an explosive amount of mana, and we don't get a ton of rituals nowadays. Realistically, we don't get a lot of rituals. So anything that looks like a ritual, I think is worth looking
You're right. I feel like Atali is kind of like starving for more good rituals too.
Was Jessica's Will the last real one that we actually got, besides some of the weird 3 mana ones that sacrifice for 2 mana later or something like that?
But I think that was kind of like the last like really good one that we got. Yeah,
so we don't get much.
And before that, it was Geosurge. So
right.
All right, Qatara's Reversal is next. This is 2 and 2 blue for an instant that says counter up to 4 target spells and or abilities, and then you can also untap up to 4 target artifacts or creatures. I kind of wish we did these in the other order. Like we didn't talk about like Wan Shi Tong already, and now I'm like, oh man, I feel like
I'm talking about good cards at the beginning where we have energy. Now, as you can probably tell, I don't know, I feel like my voice is going for some reason.
We've been going for a long time already. Yeah.
Real quick, I had just been playing Mono Blue Teferi, so when I saw this card, I was like, what the fuck? This is so good.
This is so good for Mono Blue Teferi.
I think from how I understand this card, counter up to 4 spells means that you can counter 0 spells, which I think means that you don't have to have a spell on the stack in order for you to cast this.
Haven't been able to confirm this because every other thing that says counter spells on it makes you counter the spell when you cast it.
But I think up to means that you don't have to have a target to put it on the stack, which means this has the ability of just untapping 4 artifacts and 4 creatures.
This could just be Dramatic Reversal for you.
Yeah, and it's a much worse Dramatic Reversal, but something like Kinnan, I don't know. Kinnan might want something like this because if you do get to, realistically, you're countering 1 spell with this, right? Someone puts something on the stack, you counter it, you pay for it with an Arcane Signet and a Fellwar Stone, but then you also untap that Arcane Signet, that Fellwar Stone, the Bloom Tender from last turn, as well as the Soul Ring or whatever, and now you have enough mana to activate Kinnan 2 times or something like that.
In the Magical Christmas Land, you're in a scenario where you got to counter 4 spells or abilities and also ramp you 8 mana this way too.
The real world of what this could do is not you get 8 actions out of this because it's going to feel like, oh, in my head, I can get 8 things. Counter 4 spells, untap 4 things. No, in the real world, you're going to spend 4 mana on a cancel and someone is going to counter it and you're going to go,
I'm tapped out
tapped out now. I spent my 4 mana. I spent 4 whole mana on one thing. It got countered and I lose the game now.
It's nice that it's like a modal card. It does the 2 different things, but my philosophy with modal cards is that if you cast it and you're only getting value out of the one side, if it's bad, it's not worth the fact that it's modal.
One of the modes has to be incredible. Modal cards are good. If one of the modes doesn't really do anything, but the other one's nuts, that's a good modal card.
That's a good modal card.
If we're talking about 2 modes that are both like average, that's a good standard card.
Exactly.
That's not a cEDH card. One of the modes got to be broken.
If I was playing Rewind in a deck, I would think about this a little bit harder. And I'm not just saying this because this blows Atali out of the water too.
It specifically counters the 4 things that Atali puts on the stack.
You're never going to have 4 mana up when Atali's going off on turn 2. You're never going to have this available for it.
And if you did do that, if you like took your whole turn off to leave up 4 mana and not advance your game plan, then congratulations, you don't lose to Atali, but you time walk yourself. And
you lost to the next player.
Right,
because I'm Nixilus one.
You're right, like the untapping the shit doesn't matter because you don't have a chance to get Kinnan and Thrasios out just yet.
Exactly.
Right. So like this one's probably not going to actually see play, but I think specifically if you are playing Mono Blue Teferi, I actually think this card is quite good.
So hey, that one guy from California who won those tournaments.
Maybe I don't know.
There's a card for you.
And untapping the One Ring. If you're real deep in the One Ring and you want to do key stuff and you're like, no, my plan is the One Ring.
Actually, that is a pretty big upside.
It's
like counter
nice.
Something that was going to blow you out and then you draw 6 cards.
Right.
Then.
Yeah. Like the Christmas Land is good. So, but I'm still going to give this card like 2.4.
A 2.4. I'll give it a 2. All right. Let's go to our only artifact, which is called Planetarium of Wan Shi Tong. Wan Shi Tong is so good. He's got a busted ass planetarium, which is 6 mana for a legendary artifact that for 1 mana and tapping it lets you scry 2. So far, this card sucks. But whenever you scry or surveil, you look at the top card of your library library, and you may cast that card without paying its mana cost, and you can only do this once each turn, though. Imagine fetching a Surveil land into play and then getting that card for free.
Yeah, I put this card on real quick because like Thrasios does scry in the command zone, and that's interesting. I think what's interesting about this card is that once you scry and you complete your scry, it puts a trigger on the stack to reveal the top card and cast it for free, which means that you can respond to that trigger after you scry. Scry with a land or with a Thrasios activation, get a trigger on the stack, hold priority Vampiric Tutor, put whatever you want on top and cast that for free.
Oh, that's funny.
I'm pretty sure you can do a little trick like that.
So for 7 mana, you can get your thing in your deck into play.
This card's a 0. Let's skip it. Yeah, let's skip it. This one's a 0. It's a big flashy artifact that could be fun. Big flashy
artifact. Play Beseech the Mirror in your deck.
Do something. Yeah, don't play this card. Never mind.
All right, and then the last card we're going to talk about is
7 mana. Yeah.
The last card is Rumble Arena. This is literally a card that exists, but now it has Vigilance. It's a land.
So funny that it's a land. It's a non-creature that has Vigilance.
Non-creature with Vigilance. When it enters, you scry 1. Oh, shit, dude. It works with the planetarium. Shit.
Incredible.
Yeah. You scry 1, and then you add a colorless mana, or you can filter a mana to make a mana of any color. Actually, this is bad, too, because it doesn't put the card into your graveyard the way that Conduit Pylons does. Yeah, it scries, not surveils.
Yeah.
2 zeros.
2 zeros to finish it off. I think we thought this card might be a Loomer card.
I thought it was a Loomer card.
Yeah, okay.
Man, Vigilance made it too good.
Let's just wrap this up. Should we talk about the best cards of the set?
Yeah, let's talk about the best cards.
Do you have a rough ranking of them? I think I loosely know the 5-ish.
I do, yeah. What do you think the top 5? No, let's just talk about the top 5.
Yeah.
The top 5, our number 5 is Azula, Fire Lord Azula, which came in at a 3.65. The Cabbage Merchant was next, which averaged out to this number on the screen. Then we got Redirect Lightning, which came out to a 3.9.
Redirect Lightning higher than Cabbage Merchant. That's probably wrong. We did it, but we did
see.
it.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, maybe the math will end up being that it's actually higher than Redirect Lightning too. I don't know exactly, but I don't think that's possible. And then Badgermole Cub is next at a 4.5.
Yeah.
And then our best card from the set is Wan Shi Tong at 4.9.
That's got to be right. Wan Shi's got to be the best, and I think Badgermole is better than Cabbage Merchant.
I think so too.
Right?
What honestly, I'm just excited that we got a set review that has 6 cards that are above a 3.
What's the 6th?
The last Agni Kai got a 3.1. We got a lot of really good cards. I was so sick of all these past sets where we're like, oh, there's one card that might see cEDH play, but it's not gonna because it's Spider Sense or some bullshit like that. Yeah. At least we got good cards out of the set, which has made me very hyped that like we're back on the Universes Beyond sets are good. Right. We got the bad one out of the way because it was the transitional period in between them coming into standard and like trying to take something that wasn't going to be a standard set and making it a standard set. We're done with the bullshit.
This one seems like it was planned out all the way through.
Exactly. And I think that this is going to be a good omen for like every other set that's going to come out that's not just Universes Beyond, but it's made me very excited for Lorwyn as well, because if we're doing this good of a job taking like top-down things from stuff that we know, Lorwyn could basically be a top-down set because we already have an established area in Lorwyn, and they're going to crush that one too. This has just made me excited for 2026 Magic in general. I feel like we're back in the groove.
I think so too. And I honestly would not be surprised if like Earthbend, Waterbend, all the bending, I would not be surprised if we missed some cards here, because I feel like those mechanics are actually going to play a little bit better than they read, and we've already read some of them to kind of play pretty well. So I would not be surprised if we missed some cards that end up breaking Earthbend because it makes the land come back, or breaking Windbending because you can cast it for free if you have a reduction or whatever.
I can't believe you said Windbending. Oh my god.
The colorless cards.
So yeah,
Pokemon, right? But yeah, I think the set's awesome. There's like 3 cards that are awesome cards. There's 5 cards that are probably going to be good. There's 10 cards that are like, I don't know, maybe. And there's probably 5 cards that we missed.
Nicely done, Wizards.
Thanks for watching. If you like sports directly, you can do so on Patreon, like our $100 patrons.
Wandering around, Tom Bieber, Cumulative Upkeep MTG, Nathan Cohen, Mr. Jerby, Okie Toad, Penguin Man 0089, Eli the Magic Guy, David Newman, Johnny Denver Omelet, Rocky Hall, Pat Fire, Spengler, Demetrius Clark, Larceny Roy, Zorboy Blue, Sparky B, Insomnia, S.E. Phillip, Old Link Groupie, Zach Hartley, Big Legs Banjo, Reactive, Sean of the Ice, Scare Bear Garrett, Mace the Ace, Luke Cook, Connor Sipon, Joshua Day, Cornell Wild, Uncle Butts, Noosh Quadja A. Hamid, Scott Hawk, and Baby G-Bus.
If you want to pick up any of our merch, you can do that at playtowinmtg.com.
Thank you, Dragon Shield, for supporting the show. Use code PlayToWin5 at our affiliate link down below for 5% off.
You can follow us on the internet for more content.
Thank you for watching.
See you next time.
I'm not Nathan. Mike H., Mick Saucy, Max McComber, Meta, Ben Finelli, Jason Brooks, Safarius, Ash Wayne, Sarcastic, Mystic Muffin Man, Zachary Coulson. Dalton Poteet, Jan Wildfang, Thomas Bueno, and David Nelson.
Thanks, y'all. That's it.
That's all.